Back when I finished high school.
Good enough.
I finished high school in '36. And I stayed at home and went to working. Grasshoppers eat us up. Grasshoppers come in till they hid the sky. They lasted about 10 days and then they all died as little red mites under the wing. Well, we didn't have much left. But I stayed, folks had enough money that I could still stay and work. They needed help. So I stayed with them. And then in September, the old man that owned where I live now, Haston Jones, he got sick and died. Well, they sold the farm, come up, wanted to sell it. Well, blind Jim Long was trying to buy it. He owned the place south of me. And Frank South cleaned it up and done a good job of farming. And he wanted him to do the same thing here. But he said he wasn't going to do it. So Joneses didn't want Jim Long to have the place, so they talked my granddad into buying the place. And $26 an acre. Well, they told me when they bought the place, if I'd stay and help pay for it, I could have the place. Well, which I did. And then in 1947, my grandmother died. She deeded her half to me. Then Benny got married, and he started trucking and trading, and he had more cattle than we had, Dad and Granddad and I. We was taking care of them. Well, I seen this wasn't going to work, and Edith was after me. So I decided I better leave and come home. Well, my contract didn't hold up. So what I did, we ended up, I paid them exactly what they paid for it, $26 an acre, and I got 1/3 of the personal property. So I started on my own. Well, then I went on in some bad years as far as that goes. But during the time we was working on this, in the '30s, late '30s, I went to this pie supper at Bowman School. Joe Tigg was there, and Arlene Smar, which is a good friend of the Bells. She was several years older than I am. She never did get married. She had Edith and June Hanley with her at the pie supper. Well, when the girls got ready to leave, said, "You know that old man who drives that Model T, wears a black hat? Will Hanley?" "Yep, I know him. I know him pretty well. He was a friend of the Smars, and a friend of the Smars is a friend of the Hanleys and the Bells. He'd come over to, he had the place across the road rented, the Horde place, and he'd come over there, so I knew Will. But I knew his brother, J.C., better. That's John Ed's daddy. So he said, that old man won't, I want to go with that youngest girl. The old man won't let them go out unless they go out together. I need somebody to date the other girl." All right, so he got a blind date for me. Well, it rained. We didn't make it. I was going out on a Sunday night. So it dried up for the next Sunday night, so we went over to a friend and a neighbor of the Hanleys, right west of them, Hossman's, and he went in and made a phone call. So the girls got ready. So we stayed and talked a little while. They went to Oak Grove Church. I knew them well. Ms. Hoffman said, "Elmer, I want you to watch them girls. They talk you into anything." And she always did kid me after that. Said, "I told you was going to get in trouble." So I married her. But anyway, that night we dated and come back. And you know, see, I asked her if she wanted to go again. She said yes. And I said I'd enjoyed the evening with her. But I knew at that point Edith was going to be my wife if I could talk her into it. I'd already fell hook, line, and sinker. So we got married. And then Gene come along in 42. And well, in fact, what I did, get married, we were thrashing on a Thursday evening on Bill Parker's place, and his wife died. And we was going to shut down. He said, no, just keep it going. That's all right. I understand. So then the next day, we was down north of Benny's house, Friday, trying to finish up. Storm come up, we didn't quite get done. So Saturday we had to finish, and then we had to go west of 13 that evening. Well, during the time, Dad, Thursday evening, he said after the funeral, you and Edith better be getting married. Will she marry you? Yes, I'm sure she'll marry me. Well, get married, because it's getting too rough over in Germany, and I don't want you to go. So I asked her, yep, she was ready. So then Saturday morning, what'd you say about Edith? We were going to get married. When you going to get married? 23rd of August from grandparents' birth. No, you better get married today. So I went back over and talked to Edith, and they was thrashing down at JC's. So they called Will, and he come to the house, and I asked him for his daughter. Well, that's all right, but he give Lizzie hell. He said, you ain't gonna get shut at the other one easy as you did this one. And anyway, we got married. And, you know, it went on. And later on, Gene come along. But then, next thing, my number come up. Granddad, we can't get along without you out here with all this artwork we got to do. Then he went in and talked to the draft board. Well, there was an old man up here, farmers, on the draft board. He said, we got along with them in the other war, we can get along without them. And Sam Baston, running an insurance agency in Warrensburg, he said, as long as that boy stays out there working, we ain't going to bother him. Now these boys running up and down the street every Saturday night having a big time, by God, they're going to go first. And you just go on back out there and quit worrying about it. Well, then he shut her down. The other went along with Sam Baston. So therefore, I didn't have to go. So then it went along, but before that happened, 42, we had a lot of corn to shuck, South Oak Grove Church. We started shucking corn. Joe Teague died, one that introduced me to Edith, with TB. Benny helped dig a grave. By God, he wasn't going to shuck no corn. He was going to the Army. So I told Dad, well, I'll sign, let you go. He was just 17. Well, I think he wished he'd have been back, but anyway, he went. So that's how come I didn't go. So, you know, as it went on, but then Will Hanley, I got more good out of that man, working with him, visiting with him, telling me things, how it happened, what's good to happen, you know, and this and that. And he said, I never thought about my daughter ever getting married. And the place north of him, Ritchie Place, was up for sale. He was going to buy it, 39, $80 an acre. Grandma Hanley talked him out of it because she's afraid he'd move out of the house with her. She owned the 80 where the house was. So he said if I'd have known that was going to happen, I'd have bought that. And you all could have lived over here, but I didn't do it. So that's what we ended up with.
And when you were dating her, it was the place over here where they call Granddad's.
Where the barn, Granddad's place, that's where it was. And I used to torment her a little bit. I said it wasn't that I loved you. I looked at them good short-horn cattle, and I looked at that good farm. That really roused her Edith up. But I did love her.
Yeah, we know that.
So.
Well, I know you weren't,
Huh?
I know that you probably weren't paying attention the day you were born, but did you say you knew what the weather was like then? Was it
6 inches of snow on the ground.
the day you were born? Okay, well, you said shortly before the draft thing came up, Gene came along. So what can you tell me about?
Well, the draft come along when I got married. I wasn't married a couple of weeks till we had to sign up for a draft. Then I signed up, but I was in 4F for a long time. Well, then they got short of boys, and then they moved me up to something else. And anyway, I don't know what it was. You know, Bob Collins, he was working for black guy, working for Granddad. He was out, he slept out in the wash house, had a bed and stove out there. Well, the next morning got up, he told me they had a big boy in the house. He didn't know the doctor was even out there. But then later years, after I got married, he went over to Phillips's, where the boys farming over where the silos are. And Walter Pittering said, did you hear about that Hanley girl robbing the cradle? No. Who was that? Well, he married Elmer Bell. Well, he's just a damn kid. And, well, Bob said, I don't know. He's been around a long time. Well, I was pretty near 22 years old. But Walter thought I'd robbed a cradle. Well, his daughter was the one that robbed the cradle. She was just a year older than me. She'd been married 4 or 5 years before I got married. That was Lydia May, you know. So I don't know what it is. But it's funny how times change.
Well, I guess I was kind of getting ahead of myself. Let's back up to, I mean, there was a falling out with you and Benny. And I know that whenever that happened, that Mr. Collins took your side on it. Could you?
Who?
Robert Collins.
Yeah.
Could you go back and kind of tell how he sided with you and all that?
Well, I always liked Bob, and he was my friend. I don't care what you say. But Benny and I, well, after it divided up, then we worked back and forth together till 60. 60, we rented Bob Littlejohn's farm. And we was getting ready to plant corn. Had an NFO meeting down here at East Lynn School, and I went to it. And I fooled around and joined it. Well, the next day was eating lunch, and I told him what I'd done. He blowed. And he just kept blowing from then on, just one thing and another, and we finally parted ways that year. And he said I wasn't a brother and wasn't even kin to him. He didn't want to see me again. So he didn't. We never done a damn thing. We never spoke to one another or nothing from that day on. But anyway, he worked for the REA, and they were trying to put the union in REA. And now whether they peed him off somewhere in that deal, he done that in 46 when he come home. He went to working there, 45 and 46. So, but he was really bitter against any union, I don't know. That's what we fell out over, is all I know.
Whenever you all split up, though, Mr. Collins, he sided with you, and he...
Yeah, he sided with me. And his house burnt down, and he found that he could trade the farm for a house out there on South Street, Warren Street rather, before you get, well, just the corner of Warren and North Street, I guess. No, it wasn't North either. street north of North Street, right on the corner,
Emerson?
Warrensburg.
Emerson Street.
Is it Emerson?
Well,
Probably is. I don't know.
along 13, Emerson's the one just north of North Street.
Was it? Well, that'd be the one it's on. So he could trade this 26 acres he had for that lot. But he didn't have his taxes paid. And he was trading with Sam McClooney. And he come here and he said, Elmer, can you help me out and pay my taxes? Well, I'm pretty short of damn money. I was about broke at that time, I'll tell you it was. And he said, I need $29. So I wrote him out a check, $29. And he went and paid his taxes and traded. Well, John Boland up here, he asked him for money. Nope, by God, he wasn't getting money. He asked my dad for money. Nope, by God, he wasn't getting money. And he said, come over here and ask me if I could. I said, I'll help you if I can. I thought a lot of him. Didn't know he's black. And, you know, hell, when I was a kid coming up, he worked there quite a bit. And I got big enough. I rode him every day, well, bucking horse. Goddamn, we'd get out in the yard. I couldn't eat my dinner to get out and play with him. Oh, you know. So that's kind of the way we went with him. And
I remember Rhonda and I going in and interviewing him. For some reason, though, I think that those tapes got screwed up like the other ones that we
well,
did.
you might have interviewed him, which I know you was interviewing him probably. You see, his grandmother was John Campbell Hanley's slave. The Hanleys denied it, but the Negroes said it was. And she married a Johnson, and Bob's mother was a Johnson. So that goes back, they were kin. And looking at everything, and I think it was true. But they denied it all the way down the line. But when John Campbell died, I mean, no, when the Civil War was over, he, all of his slaves stayed with him. None of them left. So undoubtedly he treated them pretty well. I don't know how many he had at that time.
But Robert Collins worked for your dad before you and your brother split up, or just worked for
He worked
you
for
and Benny? Or?
my parents off and on for 40 years. See, he was 16 years old when his daddy died. And, well, that had been in 16, I guess it was. My dad had to go to service. And he wanted to, his mother come up, granddad, if he could get that boy some job. Well, he couldn't use him. So he told him when Joe Smar needed help. That was over there east of the county barn. So he hired the Joe Smar for a year. Then the next year, 17, he worked for granddad. Dad was gone. And he worked for him all during the war. And then, I don't know really when he did quit working for him, but then he got married somewhere in the 20s, moved off down there at Mount Olive. Well, he missed a few years of helping us. And then the next thing, he bought that piece of ground down there. Lloyd's got it now. Frida had it. And he bought it and couldn't pay for it, and he had the loan out of the bank in Concordia. So they foreclosed him. So he come back up here. That was his home place. He still owed $600 on that. Now, Granddad tried to get him to pay it off. He had the money somewhere in the deal, and get that mortgage off their hand. Instead of that, him and his brother bought a Model T car. Well, it didn't last them very long. They tore it up. And anyway, he'd help back and forth a lot with us. He wasn't a steady hand, but as we needed him, he worked. He was a good hand. And if he didn't want to come, there was no need to get him because he wasn't working then. So if he didn't want to come, don't make him. And anyway, he worked there a lot. And so we got along.
Now,
But he started out working with Granddad, and then, of course, when Dad come home from service, he went in with Granddad, father and son operation. That's how it come up over the years.
And so he was still with you whenever Gene came along?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just start out with the boys one at a time then.
Huh?
Let's start out with the boys one at a time. Gene was born when, and what was the weather like that day, and what do you remember?
42. The weather that I was shucking corn south of Oak Grove Church. Bob was helping me, him and Dad. And come up a thunderstorm that night. And I didn't want to leave my horses in the barn. I had a pair of mares. And I turned them out in the pasture. I'd rather lightning kill them and burn them up. So then in the middle of the damn night, he just got a pain. And I decided the boy was about here. I went out to the pasture and caught him. Called the doctor, son of a bitch wouldn't come out. So I went over there to get Dad to go get the nurse that's supposed to be with Edith. And I told Granddad about it. By God, he got on the phone, the doctor come. He gave him hell. And young doctor, now his dad delivered me.
What's the doctor's name?
Johnson, Charles Johnson. W.E. Johnson delivered me. And he come out here in a Model A coupe. Gonna take her back to the hospital. Well, he got stuck up there at Harry Boland's basement house. Didn't make it. Got crossways of the ruts or something, I don't know. Well, I done drove over to Benny's and I rode the pony back. Well, god dang, I got back here. Gene was here. No, I didn't either. I didn't ride the pony back. I got hitched the horses up. I had them hitched up rather, and I stopped to get Ms. Collett. She was good with kids being born. Brought her back to help me. She rode in the wagon. When I got here, the doctor had called from Harry Boland's. He was stuck. So I sent Roy with the wagon and team back up there to get him out. He brought the doctor down, then took him back. And then during the time, Dad had gone to get the nurse, so I took a team back over there and tied him up the wagon, come back. And the next thing, Dad finally come in with the nurse, and I rode the pony home. And shit, that next morning, well, she couldn't stay. She come out there and seen this poor damn place. I don't know what she expected to look, but she'd come from a place over north of Higginsville, was fancy as hell. Everything, you know, modern. And she left, so I had to take her back. And well, Dad took her back. So then I went to Allville and got a gal out of Allville to come and stay with Edith while the boy was little. Gene was little.
How do you do that? You just drive around town till you find someone that says, yeah, I'll come, or was there like some known people that were known to?
Well, we know them all. Well, Miss Berry is the one that's supposed to stay with Edith. Well, shit, they knew her well, know her daughter, and shit, out damn. But she wasn't dependable. The next one was, I don't know what her name was now. We knew her in Oilville and her husband. Well, she was a good gal. She was all right. We done good there. So, anyway, that solved the problem, that part. And when Bill come along, like, of course, Edith had made her stay in bed for a week. Wouldn't let her up on her feet, which is, as a belief years ago. Bill come along and got her right up on her feet after that. Well, Miss Woods up there, Miss Boland's mother, she come down and stayed with Edith a few days till we got going. And then Lloyd come along, I don't know what happened there. We just all seemed like everything got along.
But when was Bill born, and what was that day like? Do you remember the details, the weather, everything?
Bill was born, it was a nice sunny day. It was third day of April. I was getting ready to plant corn when that happened. And then Lloyd, he come along State Fair in August, which was, what was it, 21st? When is he born? Somewhere in there. And it was a hot summer day, that's all there was to it. Sunday evening, and Edith was having pains, so I took her out there, knew what she'd do it right quick. Took her to the hospital. Oh, you ain't near ready. They wouldn't take her in the hospital. So, oh, goddamn, we'll go to the movie. So we went to the movie. She didn't get nothing out of it, but I did. I come out of the movie, went to the hospital. Nope, you ain't ready. Come home. I think 1 o'clock I turned around and went right back. He was already half here, I think. Goddamned outfit. Of course, they wouldn't let you in where they're being born. And I don't know.
Well, is there anything, I guess what I wanted to do now is kind of, I know there's a couple events in your life. I know that there was a day when you got your hand cut up, and there was a day when you got hit by lightning, so those are a couple stories that I'd like to have some. Start with your hand, if you. When
I lost my fingers, I had one more job of silo filling, and I was trying to get to it on Sunday. This is Saturday morning, and I was cutting over here on the mini farms, and it choked down. Well, that Alice cutter, you had to get it running to get the damn thing out, or throw it on the ground and throw it back in. But I got it unchoked. I seen the upper rear feed roll wasn't a turning. So I went back and shut the tractor off. Started to go around and stick my hand on the left side. Instead of that, I clumb up on the power takeoff and stuck my right hand in and turned the roller. Well, I thought the shaft was broke, but it turned out to be a bolt out that drove the roller. Well, I went back to the tractor to get the wrench to put a bolt in, and I had a hornet snap to keep a damn lid from flopping up, and I couldn't undo it. I looked at it, well, I looked at it again. Well, it was gone. Wasn't no fingers there. Wasn't hurting a bit. Damn, I was scared. Down through the Targo field I went. Had to walk a quarter mile of road. Oh shit, this won't work. I'll pass out here. I better go back. I went back and got the tractor and fired it up. Wasn't getting along very good. Had a full load of solids, so I pulled a pin and left it alone. Well, the first ditch I got to, there was a big walnut tree. And I was feeling going around and around like I was going to pass out or something. I pulled up in the shade. Well, there was a little bit of pain go through my arm. Another pain, just a little faster and a little faster. Well, I was feeling pretty good then after the pain come. So I drove to the road. I got my pocket watch out and looked at it, just 9 o'clock. So I started down the road. I knew the next wagon would be late, which was Howard Francis, hauling it here home. So when I crossed the bridge, I seen him coming over the hill. So I just pulled over and let her sit. But good Lord was with me, because I crossed the bridge in field position. I don't know how I done that, but I did, without tearing it up. I met him, he said I was white as a sheet. So I got in the wagon, we went back. He said, how about asking college for their car? I don't give a damn what you do, it's a hurting now. So he pulled in. He didn't ask nobody for a car. He got in that brand new Chevy car. He got in it and we headed to town. I didn't know that till a year or two ago. And we stole that car. Well, said we're driving along. It was hurting him about as bad as it was me. He shot his arm off. So, well, Elmer, you're going to have to quit driving them old John Deeres. What makes you think that? Well, goddamn, you ain't got no fingers left. Well, I drove it up here. Well, you did, by God. We went all in the damn hospital. Goddamn, when I got in the hospital, he took me in there and shit, I went out like a light. When I went in the hospital, I don't know, I passed out. And the next thing I know, Doc Cooper had me on the operating table. He was trying to cut the bones off, clamp off the arteries, veins. They called them by names. Oh, God damn, that hurt. Ms. Mapes was his nurse. Doc, there it is, right there. Boom, I knew it was going to hurt. Then they cut the damn bone off. He couldn't get it. Goddamn, I don't know who in the hell messed these, I don't know what there was, some kind of cutters. I heard him slam the damn thing across the wall. Got another pair. Goddamn, he finally got them cut off. And sewed it all up. Then he took pictures of it.
Is he pretty proud of it?
They didn't give me an anesthetic because they knew I had heart trouble. And,
You had heart trouble back then?
Yeah, I had, rheumatic fever. I had rheumatic fever, you see, my last year in high school. And I had my heart was missing more than it was hitting.
Really? I don't think
But
I
I
knew
kind
that.
of come out of it. But my heart didn't get enlarged. But at that time, it was missing a lot. So, anyway, he got that off and then told the nurses, now you put him and put that in a plastic bag with Epsom salt, sterilized water. And shit, nobody done nothing. And Sunday morning, I said something to them. Well, God, yeah, we were supposed to have done that. Well, shit, they finally put it in there. Monday morning, he come in to dress it. John Ivy, up at the blacksmith shop, he come in to see me. And he said, Elmer, that finger there ain't short enough. Well, by God, it's pretty damn short to me. He said, that's why I don't like to sharp. He just had them two off. Sharpen plowshares. And the hammer turned there and hurt like hell. Well, he's right, it'll do it, Well, he was right, it ought to have been shorter. So, anyway, I smelled terrible. God damn, I was rotten. I said, God damn, Doc, this is awful. Oh, you're doing all right. That Epsom salt water, that'll keep you purified and all that. So, shit, we went from there. And, but that first night I was feeling so damn bad, Dad come out and stayed with me. Well, gal over north here lived over there by Edith when she growing up. She was nursing out there. I'm never glad to see somebody I knew that night. She was on duty that night. And anyway, that's what happened. Well, then I was out of grass and hadn't chucked my corn. It's over south here. I had to get it to get the grass. Connie said, I'll pick your corn for you to get somebody to scoop it. Well, everybody's gonna scoop corn. Didn't a damn soul ever scoop any corn except Roy Jones. He come and helped me. And that was on Monday after I got hurt a week after I got hurt. So I scooped corn. I had that in a furrow, scooped left-handed all the time. So I got my corn all scooped. Roy helped me one day, and then we got the corn all together, trying to get grass for my cattle.
Well, before we go to the lightning thing, I'd like to back up and hear a little more about the rheumatic fever, because I don't think I knew about that.
Well, my rheumatic fever, I had in 36, New Year's Eve, we had a big doings at the church. Joe Teague and I lit the candles. Well, my throat was getting pretty scratchy. And we got them lit. I didn't know much of the damn program. By the time I got home, it was hurting like hell. Next morning, Dad took me into the doctor. I got scarlet fever. So they quarantined me. So Eileen and Benny stayed up at grandparents. They went on to school. She brought me my assignments, high school, and I kept up and was able to graduate. So I stayed with it. Very cold winter. It froze at least 3 foot deep that winter. It was dry. Crack open and freeze down. Water pipes froze up. Didn't thaw out till the middle of April that spring. So I rode a horseback, farmers. I was out, I think, 3 weeks, and then I went back to school. And being cold, riding up there, rheumatic fever set in. That's the results of scarlet fever. And hell, they couldn't turn me over in bed without sheet hardly. And took me to see old Doc Johnson, and goddamn, he gave us stuff I don't know what. But Ma put hot rags on my knees and ankles. She couldn't wring them out, they were so damn hot. She'd wring them with another towel. Boy, that felt good, that hot damn pack on that thing. Well, finally I got where I get back walking again, went back to school. Well, then what I had, that was in spring of 36. And then in the spring of 38, I was plowing, well, I plowed over there, what Straley's got east of the church, for corn, wheat stubble. And we planted the corn. Well, the corn had come up. Always before the corn had come up, I was plowing what I was doing. And Granddad come over going to try and burn that damn straw. Well, the damn shower come up. I crawled in the straw pile. Cattle eat a hole in it. Well, I stayed out of the shower. You stay out of the rain, because that ain't going to do you any good. So I started home. He rode a horse over there, and I rode to Henry Applegate's, another shower. So I run in his barn. Then I come on home. But I didn't get wet. I had measles, what I had. I was feeling bad, but I didn't know what I was taking, but it turned out to be measles. Well, I got home, went to bed, and Ma woke me up. You want some supper? No, I don't want any supper. I want a glass of milk. Well, that's the worst thing in the world. Give me a glass of milk, man with fever. I didn't hardly get it down. It'd come back clabber. I mean, clabber. And, well, that was all right. By God, the next morning she looked at me and, you're broke out all over. And I was. You know, shit, I just got along good. Best. Eileen and Benny like to never broke out. I got it from a friend Edith, Eileen brought home with her. Well, I dated the gal years ago. And God damn, she brought me the measles. And so then I went on till 38. cultivating corn, that same field. And I had a 2-year-old mule. He just raised hell. The next morning, shit, I couldn't even get out of bed. Had a rheumatic fever had come back on me. And the mule was raising hell in the barn, and he died before noon. He had, oh shit, what I want to say, tetanus. When they die, tetanus is bad. They had a sore neck, and he got tetanus in it. And that's why he's raising hell the day before. And, well, I finally got going on that. And then I didn't do much work till later on. Well, I didn't do any work till it started cutting wheat and oats. But I made 2 hay frame wagons for Dad and I to harvest with while I was recuperating there. And then in '39, I got it hit me again along about March. No, it wasn't March. It was last days of February. Well, goddamn, I got going. Well, I went to see my grandfather, Alan, in July. He was sick. He was worried about me. And he wanted to know how I was doing. I was doing all right. He was the one that wasn't. He had prostrate trouble killed him. So I got over that. Well, then I lost my grandfather. I lost my grandmother's sister. I lost her brother's wife. And I lost Ms. Parker up there, Marion Parker's wife. And it was the first funerals I was ever at. And they was all friends, every one of them down the line, you know, or kin. And then it was after that I got a date with Edith in November. And we started going together. Well, that was a long, cold, damn winter. And I was hauling shock of Milo from over there east of the church, a pair of mules every day. I'd go over and get some shocks of corn and take them over across the county line, feed the rent Hatch Long steers. I'd pick up another load and bring home and feed our cattle. I walked most of the time beside the wagon, it's so damn cold. Well, by God, it wasn't long. Started warming up. Damn, I went down with rheumatic fever again. And Mr. and Ms. Ivy, we went to school to, they brought Edith and June over and Joe Tigg to see me. They had to walk in from up at Benny's down to see me in the mud. And anyway, I finally got over that and got back a going. Went on, then we got married in August. Well, I didn't have no more flare-ups till I think it was 54. Then I went down again. And then by God, I had a tooth ulcerated, pulled it, that was it. But in 40, I pulled a tooth that was ulcerated. I think that's what was causing the trouble. Then in 64 I was down bad again. And I got going on that again. And then in 64, I pulled all my teeth. None of them. So then he thought the shape my heart was in, he didn't pull the 3 at a time. And then he made this, another dog, well, Sholey made my teeth for me on Gordy, 65, September.
Are they related?
No, no kin. So, you know, that's about the story of that. Then you wondered about the lightning. Well, I was over here on what I had, mini farm. We put that hay up for the guy to get it off the ground for him. I'd mowed it. Well, I hadn't quite got done mowing. Jess McCormick was helping mow, but I was running the baler. And Jess was finished mowing. Bill was raking. James and Monty McCormick was hauling the hay in. Well, I started baling right after dinner, and the clutch live power went out on the Super MTA that Gene had. So I come home. It wasn't nothing but that 70 John Deere, and it'd been on a round baler. And the clutch wouldn't stay snapped in. So I was in a hurry to get ahead of the boys, so I hooked it up on the baler and I was baling. And as soon as I got ahead of them, I was going to stop and tighten the clutch up so it'd stay tight. Well, I was coming around there, and a little old cloud wasn't big as my hat, and it started sprinkling. Well, I bailed the end, which wouldn't have been over 2 or 3 more bales. I was going to quit. And it hit me. And I was floating in outer space. And couldn't get a hold of nothing. And I come to, I remember leaning over the steering wheel. And but Bill said later, him and Jess, that I rode the thing all over. They thought I'd got in a rope to the hay baler. It was power takeoff, but it wasn't. So when they got down there, I was running around over the field. Crazy in hell. Boy, my head hurt. And the only reason I'm here today, I didn't have a ground. Wasn't no teeth hitting the ground or to kill me. But it did kill the grass when it jumped off the baler. See, it hit me and went down my eye, off the end of my nose, steering wheel, and on down the ground. And I had a scab there. It stayed there 2 or 3 weeks before I ever got it healed up. But it burnt that eye there as it come down. And tumor on top of my head, and it busted that open there. Well, the doctor the next day, he cut it out up there at Lexington. So Kathy called Nancy, she run out here and took me to Lexington. Well, I don't know, I was kind of half at myself, I don't know what. They didn't do nothing for me, as far as that goes. Took that tumor off my head.
Well, let's just start with an NFO from start to finish.
Huh?
NFO.
There's my mailman. Well, NFO started, I went down there and joined. First, I'll tell you what I done. I was a delegate out of this township, Farm Bureau. Well, we met across the street, and Ray Moore and I rode out there together. But the rest of the board that had met, they all went over to see what NFO was doing at the courthouse. We come home. I didn't go. Well, I wasn't exactly enthused over the deal. So then, that was 1 year, and the next year, why, they were down here having a meeting at the schoolhouse. So I went down there. Well, I was kind of impressed. They had Gordon Schaefer and another guy down there, and trying to sign them up. Well, they were talking about maybe labor helping us, labor unions helping us. Well, somewhere got them, nope, by God, they didn't want nothing to do with labor. Well, I didn't exactly agree with them, but I joined up. Then I come home and told Benny I joined, and that's when he blowed. But then I went to every meeting they had. And the more I went, the more I wanted to go, because I was learning something new all the time. The powers to be is going to take us over and this and that. At that time, they had lined out that they wanted to consolidate all schools. They wanted to have dormitories. You take your kids to it Monday morning, get them Friday evening. That is the deal. And then the shopping centers would have mailboxes. You'd pick up your mail. There'd be no roll mail. That is the layout for the country. I read all that. Well, shit, that didn't sound good. You know, we had some people I don't know how they ended up with so damn much knowledge that we started out with. Well, as things went along, you know, and I just kept staying in there and working. And we had a few holding actions and this and that. Well, all the holding action was for was to see where the production was coming from. We were doing pretty good here in Missouri, but it had a 63 holding action. But goddamn highway is dragging their feet, and they poured the hogs to Kansas City. It had been going somewhere else, but they brought them all to Kansas City. Well, that broke things up, you know, that part. And people got all discouraged. And we started there. Well, then, as things went along, then I don't know, I got to be county chairman. I didn't want that period. Then I got to be district chairman. Well, that was worse yet. And then I met a guy out of Ray County, and we got pretty well acquainted. Then they was wanting a new director in Missouri, and he called me up. He said, how about it? Well, I ain't got no education. High school, as far as I've been, we don't need any education. We need horse sense. Well, I don't know whether I got that or not. We're going to run you for director. So they got a boy out of Clinton that had been district chairman. I'd followed him in, and he nominated me at a convention down at Lynn, Missouri, and they voted me in as a delegate. I mean, it just, oh hell, what I want to say. But they really didn't get voted in until the convention, St. Louis that fall. That's when they swore me in as a director. Well, that went on, you know, and just the more you went, the more you learned, you know. And so I just kept working. Well, I worked as field staff, and the field staff guy, when I went in as director, said I hadn't been in no time. Meet me at the airport. Well, I met him out at the airport. We went to Lebanon, Missouri. And he said, I'm putting you in charge of Missouri, south part of Missouri. Organize and collect dues. Well, I didn't think about that, but I couldn't argue up in the air, you know. So that's what we did.
So you actually flew?
Huh?
You actually flew?
Yeah, we flew down. He had a plane.
Huh, I didn't know that you'd ever flew.
Yeah, we flew in that plane.
Was that the only time you ever flew?
No, I'd flew before. Once over at Will Hanley's. Oliver had a plane, 2 planes down there. Too much rent in the city, so I brought him out there. And it landed. He laid there a good while. Will was riding with him all the time. He'd have bought a plane if he'd have been a young man. He loved that. And anyway, we went down there that night. And he lined me all out what I was going to have to do. So we got in the plane and headed for Sky Haven. And I'd look out of that plane, God damn, all the valleys, good God, the fog was thick, you know. What are we going to do when we get to Warrensburg? I didn't ask him that, but I wondered what the hell we was. But we got to Warrensburg, it was clear out there at the airfield. So he lit and let me out, and then he went on home. He was up in Kingdom City, where he was from, up at St. Joe. So then I started working from there, you know. And, well, then they added on the northeast part of Missouri with me. And then finally they put me on northwest Arkansas, southeastern Kansas, and northeastern Oklahoma. I worked down in there. So, but then we had our milk holding action, and I had an office at, El Dorado Springs, and of course Johnson stopped us. Well, we knew we was right, but wasn't nothing we could do about it. We went first, we could go anyway. So after that, by then you couldn't collect dues or sign up anybody, because the milk people will suit against us. So we turned around and countersued. Now we had a conference call, had all those on the goddamn telephone line at one time, and took our vote, Warren Lee did, all the way around. We decided to countersue, so we countersued. And a week later we had a board meeting, we went up there. And you know, that thing went on 19 years, finally settled. And Louis and Harold Udding wouldn't have nothing to do with NFO, but they were with the AMPI, sold their milk, so they had an AMPI meeting. Somebody asked a question, what are we going to do with NFO? Well, it's all settled and taken care of. Don't have to worry about it. Okay. Well, it went on then for 19 years. One day, the judge that had us up, he died. And that was, I can't think of his name right off right now. And new judge took over. There that suit laid, he hadn't acted on it. So he acted on it and gave us $21 million. Well, then MFA had to pay, AMPI and all the other two milk things had to pay off. So then Lloyd rented a Coolman place, and Don worked for the milk companies, and his mother died. So Nancy and I went down to the visitation that afternoon. Well, Don was there and some of the milk boys was there. Hey, I got an NFO member here I'd like you to meet. Hell, we don't want to see him. He didn't meet me either. No, hell no, they didn't want to be introduced. Well, they done it, you know. But I said, when they were running the damn deal, if that don't fail in our favor, I'm completely done with law and order. And it was. Now that's how damn crooked the damn thing is. Law ain't nothing. You're in my mind. You might have something else. But that's the way it goes.
So
then in 72, that's when I went out of the organization. I told him I wasn't able to work in the field, it's getting to me. And that's when another guy went in my place. He had all the answers, but it seemed like it didn't work out. He was in the grain department later. He really sucked it to my boys. They sold Milo through him. Good God Almighty, the expense was awful. That ruined them. They didn't do nothing at home.
Did you make a lot of lifelong friends while you were in there?
Oh yeah, I made a lot of friends. You know, it's very, you ought to, you work over the state like that, you cross the Missouri River, I might put that as a boundary, they're different. Missouri River south, on into Arkansas and Oklahoma, Kansas a little different. But by God, you're one of them. Hell, you could stay all night at anybody's house you wanted to. They were just that friendly, you know. But north, goddamn independent bastards, you know, and that's the way the thing went. Yeah, I made a lot of friends during times. A lot of them gone, though.
Who are some of the ones that stand out?
Huh?
Who are some of the ones that stand out from NFO?
Oh, I don't know. We got Clinton. I had 3 boys down there, Ernie Dahl, and, Bud Wilson, another or two. Bob Serter up at Garden City. Well, I don't know who all we had, but scattered over the state, there's a lot of different guys. Now,
I think this
the,
tapes, this
huh?
one's, this, I may have to switch tapes again.
well, that's enough.